Welcome back to the Red Stool, and today we're talking about My Hero Academia, chapter 347. Now, with this chapter, we pick up exactly where we left off last week, thankfully, because we get to see Shigaraki, basically what his counter plan is to being trapped inside of UA, aka his coffin. And I gotta say, it's actually super smart on his behalf just because it's almost a perfect counter strategy. And what he's basically currently doing in his situation, since he can't use his quirk, his body is constantly mutating to keep up with this mass of quirks he has in his body. Now, I think he's able to keep his own form compressed into the current body we see, but he lets himself mutate and grow until his hand, or his thousands of hands, are almost the size of Gigantomachina or bigger, if not, because they're absolutely huge. And it's just this mass of huge individual hands. But thankfully, like I kind of theorized last week, he doesn't actually kill Mirko. He kind of just knocks her away, destroying some of her prosthetics. But what his entire plan is, basically the second that Monoma and Aizawa can no longer use Eraser to stop him from using his quirk, he's going to activate Decay in each and every single one of these 1,000 little hands. Now, we've all seen what he can do when he just has one hand or even two, but if he activates Decay throughout all of these hands at the same time, what his plan is to basically overwhelm the systems at UA. Because when you look at it on the surface, yeah, it's super overpowered. They can basically replace anything that's destroyed within the school. They fire him up into the barrier periodically so he can get electrocuted by the electromagnetic barrier that's at the top. And it's all very smart, except for the fact that it's a very delicate system that has to be maintained. And if he can destroy enough of that system quickly as possible, there's no way that even with all the heroes working together, that they can regenerate it as quickly as he would be able to destroy it with all of these hands. So it's almost like the perfect counter pick, using his quirks and mutation to counteract what's going on with him and the heroes. And it's pretty smart, great plan. I like it so far. Now, where the heroes come in at a disadvantage here is they really only have 3 heroes at the moment that are really suited to fighting him or anyone who has like a giant mutant body, which is Bakugo, Nijiri, and Best Genis, because Best Genis can basically restrain anyone as long as he has enough fibers. Nijiri and Bakugo, they have enough firepower to suppress him. So what I'm thinking the heroes are probably going to need to do here is see if they can sever this arm off at its weakest point, which is going to be quite dangerous because the weakest point would be at his wrist where it all started. And that means they're going to have to get right up in Shigaraki's face in order to do that. But that's how I would carry the situation if I was in the Pro Hero situation. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to know what you would do as well. Please let me know. And while you're down there, let me know. Go ahead and drop a like. But of course, we know that the Pro Heroes that we have at UA, they're all up for the task because Best Genis, he's ready to go. He's rallying the troops. And I like how they even have like on-stock prosthetics for Mirko. So they just reload her leg and arm in a heartbeat and she's ready to hop back in the fight. She even has this quick little back and forth with Bakugo that I think is just super hilarious, seeing both of their more abrasive personalities like rub against each other. But Best Genis, the rest of the Pro Heroes, they're ready to take him down. The only like kind of shink or weak link in their armor really is, unfortunately, it's Monoma. And it's because he's feeling a little unsure now. Now that everything isn't working and, he's done all his part, he assumed that it would be all smooth sailing. And he's kind of running into adversity again. It kind of gives me mirror vibes of the sports festival, and even when they were doing the class 1A, 1B thing, when his plans don't go particularly as he designs them, he tends to fall apart a little bit. So hopefully Aizawa, they can rein him in. But they're definitely going to need to watch out because with Shigaraki's new giant mutant hand body, he's going to be focusing on destroying them because, of course, he can't use his quirks, but since he's generated this gigantic mutant massive hands, it's going to come with strength, not just size. So he'll be able to overpower them. So hopefully the three of them can just stay mobile and away from Shigaraki so they can keep him from destroying UA in one fell swoop. Now, this is where we get to our other battlefield. Deku, Uraraka, Froppy, Gang Orca, and a few other pro heroes versus Toga and some high-end Nomu, plus a few escapees from Tartarus. And I like how the Nomu, they keep getting stronger. Throughout the series, Horikoshi, he just keeps making the Nomu stronger. And even though All For One has lost so much, he still has the ability to make his strongest pawns even stronger by just stacking more quirks inside himself. Even though he's lost a doctor, even though he's lost a hospital, he's still able to effectively use every piece that he has in order to gain his perfect victory, which is what I really like about him as a villain. And I just really like about the story. It's like things only keep getting harder for the heroes as the story progresses. But they're all going to have a bit of a problem here. And thankfully, Deku is there because otherwise they might have bit off more than they can chew with this group of villains and Nomu that they chose to isolate at this island with Gang Orca. Or that's what I would say if Deku currently didn't have his hands full with Toga. And she comes out of the woodworks, as she always does, and she's making her intentions with Deku absolutely clear in this chapter. She loves him quite literally to death, potentially, and she wants him to be her boyfriend. And it's kind of funny how, because she has this sick way of showing love through violence and making people bleed, which she expresses as her ultimate feeling of love, it's why Deku's danger sense isn't working. And it's funny because we have Deku, he's kind of focused on the moment, and in the back, you have the fourth user, he's sitting there and he's actually kind of narrating, thinking like, oh, wow, I was wondering why my danger sense doesn't work. It's because she has such an infection for you, even though she wants to hurt you. This is great. It's like he's doing Deku's overthinking that normally Deku would be doing. So I think that was just funny for me. But it kind of leads us back to the whole love triangle thing between Deku, Uraraka, and Toga. However, I was kind of hoping for a little bit something else, like maybe she was going to ask him that same question that she asked Uraraka back in chapter 288, when she was like, hey, what would you do if, you came across me on the battlefield? Like, would you stop me from showing like my affection of love or living my life the way I see fit? And I was hoping she would ask Deku that way they could challenge her ideals and tell her, hey, even though this is your normal, it's not okay for you to run around hurting people. But I think with her expressing this desire for Deku to be her boyfriend, we'll eventually get him rejecting her, kind of breaking her heart. And maybe then they can kind of set the tone for them to either be able to talk some sense into her, or, at the worst case scenario, they might just have to write Toga off as a lost cause. Going into this, I was fully rooting for them. Like, yeah, you know what, Toga, she can be redeemed. You guys can save her. But after this last chapter, I'm just like, you know what, maybe she's just a little too far gone to be helped at this point. But as I always say, of course, these are my opinions. I'm dying to know yours. Run down to the comments if you didn't already get there and let me know. Who do you think Deku should end up with? And if you do think Deku should end up with Toga, you're absolutely going to have to explain that to me, because I don't see where you're coming from. I'm willing to listen. I just don't see where you're coming from. But thanks for sticking around. I'm going to catch y'all later. As always, all social at DatBoyBestBoy. I'm going to see y'all later, all right? Peace.